This is the story of a man and his 3 daughters. His wife had passed away a few years ago. All 3 of his daughters were beautiful, but the youngest was the most intelligent of his sisters. Her name was Zainab. Karamdan loved all 3 of his daughters. He never let his daughters feel the absence of a mother. He fulfilled every wish of his daughters. Now, Karamdin's daughters had grown up and were cooking for their father. When Karamdin went out for work, his daughters would cook for him. In the same village, there was a widow who had a daughter. The widow had a habit of going to every house to ask for something. When Karamdan's daughters would cook for their father, that woman would often come to their house to ask for fire. But Karamdan's youngest daughter, Zainab, did not like that widow woman at all. Whenever that woman would come to their house, Zainab would ask her sisters, "Why does this woman come to our house? This woman is not good at all." Both the elder sisters would explain to Zainab, "Look, she is a widow and a poor woman. If she takes fire from our house, what harm will it do you?" Zainab would listen to her sisters and keep quiet. But she would say, "Look, this woman will one day cause trouble for all of us." The story went on like this. That woman would come to their house every day to get firewood, and when she got a chance, she would mix ash in Karamdin's food. When Karamdin felt something was wrong with his food, he thought that his younger daughters cook food, so he must have made a mistake. He loved his daughters very much, and he could not understand why his daughters were spoiling his food. Then one day, Karamdan thought, "I will keep an eye on my daughters today. After all, what have my daughters suddenly started adding to my food?" When Karamdan's daughters started cooking, he secretly watched them. His elder daughter was washing the rice with clean water. His younger daughter was making the curry. And his youngest daughter was cleaning the utensils. The utensils which were to be used to cook the food. In a short while, the food was cooked and ready. There was nothing wrong with the food. Karamdan was worried. But then, suddenly, what he saw made him shudder. She saw that the same widow had come to set her house on fire and her younger daughter, Zainab, was arguing with her. Meanwhile, her other sister was explaining to Zainab, "It's okay, Zainab. She is a widow. Let her set the house on fire." The elder sister said. But the widow saved her eyes from the fire and mixed ash in Karamdan's food and ruined it. Karamdan was furious. The next day, Karamdan called the widow to his house and asked her, "How dare you ruin my food?" The woman came to Karamdan in a very dramatic manner and began to touch his chest and say, "I was wondering if you really love your daughters or not. Do you scold them when the food is spoilt or not? But you turned out to be a very good man who loves his daughters a lot. You caught me red-handed. Now I am convinced that you love your daughters very much. This will never happen again." Karamdan began to believe his words and his drama, because that widow was beautiful. Karamdan was impressed by his behavior and instead of saying anything, decided to make her his wife. Within a few days, he married that widow without the permission of his daughters and brought her home. A few days after the wedding, the widow started hating the 3 daughters of Karamdan. She wanted all the daughters of Karamdan to leave the house. She started making all kinds of plans to get them out of the house. She thought that if her daughters left the house, she and her daughter would be able to live a comfortable life. At the same time, she and her daughter would be the only ones to take care of Karma Dean. She knew that Karma Dean loved her daughters very much and could not see them sad at all. Her daughter always wore expensive clothes, which made her look modern. But the stepmother forced the 3 daughters to do all the household chores. She didn't even feed them properly, and gradually reduced their other needs. The 3 sisters were always sad. One day, 2 older sisters were crying. Zainab came to her older sisters and said, "Dear sisters, let's go out somewhere so that we can freshen up." Then the 3 sisters left the house and walked to a forest. There, they sat under a dense tree, crying and thinking of their mother. In the meantime, an old man with the name of Allah passed by. Zainab was sitting on the ground, crying and saying, "Oh my Allah, we are poor girls and very sad. You can see how much our stepmother tortures us. We have been hungry for so many days." The old man with the name of Allah was standing nearby and listening to her. Then he addressed Zainab and said, "Daughters, you 3 come here under this tree every day. What are you sad about? You can tell me." Zainab told the story to the elder of Allah in tears. The elder was very sad to hear this. He said, "Daughter, my hut is a little far from here. I live and worship there. There is a pomegranate tree outside my hut, with ripe pomegranates on it. You go and pluck as many pomegranates as you want from that tree and eat them." Hearing this, the three girls happily went to the hut. They saw very beautiful and juicy pomegranates on the tree. The three of them plucked each pomegranate and sat down to enjoy it. When she was full, she thanked the old man and returned home. After that, when her stepmother did not feed her, she would go to the forest every day and eat those pomegranates to fill her stomach. Gradually, she stopped eating what her mother fed her. Now her stepmother began to think, "I don't give these girls anything to eat. I make them do so much work. I humiliate them. Yet there is a strange glow on their faces. None of them fall ill, but their beauty is increasing. And my daughter, whom I give such good food, she looks ugly in front of them." The next day, when the girls went to the forest, the stepmother sent her daughter to follow them. When the three girls were eating the pomegranates, Zainab saw her stepsister. She said to the other sisters, "This girl is following us. I'll get her out of here." Then Zainab hid the pomegranate in her hand and said, "If she tells her mother about this, it could be a problem for us." But Zainab's other sisters said, "Zainab, what are you saying? This poor girl is innocent." Zainab's older sisters said, "Our stepmother is annoying us. She doesn't say anything to us." After this, the three sisters made their stepmother sit next to them and gave her a pomegranate. But the stepmother did not eat the pomegranate and quickly went to her mother and said, "Mother." The girls were not hungry. They would pluck pomegranates from a tree and eat them. An elderly man was worshipping near the same tree. He did not try to stop him. The stepmother was furious. She thought, "How can I stop these girls from eating pomegranates?" She remained angry all day. When Karamdan returned home from work in the evening, he saw his wife worried. He asked her, "What is your problem? Why are you so sad?" She said, "I have a severe headache, and it cannot be cured with any medicine." Karamdan asked, "Then how will it be cured?" She said, "There is a pomegranate tree in the jungle, with red pomegranates on it. If you cut that tree from its roots, boil its roots and make a medicine, and apply it on my forehead, my headache may be cured." Karamdan said, "That's all." Then she called some men and gave them money and said, "There is a pomegranate tree in the jungle. You pick it from its roots and give me its roots." Within a few hours, he picked up the tree from the roots and brought the roots to Karamdan. Karamdan quickly lit the fire, made the medicine from the roots and applied it on his wife's forehead. In a little while, his wife said, "I am feeling better now." The next day, when the three sisters went to the forest, they saw that someone had picked up the pomegranate tree from the roots. Seeing this, she became very worried and began to think, "What will we eat now?" That's when the three girls sat there and began to cry. Hearing their cries, the Almighty came out of his hut. He understood why the girls were crying. He said, "What is there to cry about? Allah will give you something better than this." Then the Almighty pointed to the ground with his finger. And a small river was formed there, in which milk was flowing instead of water. He gave the girls a clay bowl and said, "Drink as much milk as you want from it." The girls were very happy and started drinking milk from the clay bowl. When they were full, they thanked the old man and returned home. After that, it became their daily routine to go to the pond and drink milk from the clay bowl. Their stepmother was surprised to see their health. She called her daughter and said, "I had removed the name and sign of the pomegranate tree from the forest. Still, it did not affect the health of these girls. I don't even feed them. What are they eating that is making their health so good?" She told her daughter to follow them and find out what they are eating. The girl went back to the forest, following her sisters. When the three were drinking milk from a clay bowl, Zainab turned around. She saw her stepsister standing quietly and said to the other sisters, "Look, this girl is following us again." Zainab said to her sisters, "Get up quickly and send her away. Because if she sees our pond, she will go home and tell everyone, and then there will be a commotion in the house." But Zainab's older sisters scolded her and said, "What is your problem? I admit that my stepmother is cruel to me, but what is her fault in this?" Zainab became silent after hearing this. After this, the three of them made their stepsister sit by the river and gave her a bowl of milk filled with mud. The girl drank the milk and quickly went to her mother and told her everything about the lake and the milk. The stepmother was very angry to hear this. She called a few men from her village and said, "I will give you as much money as you want. But you will have to go to the jungle. There is an old man's hut and pond. You have to finish that hut and throw the soil in the pond. You will get a lot of money in return. In a little while, that man will do everything according to his will and come back." The woman was very happy. The next day, when the three sisters went to the forest, they saw that there was neither a pond nor an old man's hut. Seeing this, she felt like a mountain. She sat there and started crying. Hungry and thirsty, she returned home. Her stepmother was very happy to see this. One day, she lied down again as an excuse for her illness. When Karamdan came home in the evening, he said to his wife, lovingly, "I don't care if I lose everything, but I won't let anything happen to you. I will get you treated by the best doctor." But his wife was up to something else. She said, "You don't have to do so much. Just do one small thing to save my life." Karamdan said, "Tell me quickly, what do I have to do? I will do it there." His wife said, "You take out the blood of your 3 daughters and rub it on the palms of my hands and feet. Only then can I be cured." Hearing this, Karamdan burst into tears because he loved his daughters very much. He quietly left the room and started looking for his daughters. But the daughters were not at home. He got worried and reached the graveyard in search of them. There he saw that his 3 daughters were sitting near their mother's grave and crying. Karamdan was shocked to see this. On one hand, his wife's desires and on the other, his daughter's lives. Karamdan did not know what to do. He thought his wife would never be happy with his daughters and his daughters would never be happy with their stepmother. So, he decided to take his daughters somewhere far away. He hugged his daughters and said, "Oh daughters, why are you worried? I will take you somewhere else." He took his daughters to a dense forest. There he made a clay stove and fed his daughters. When the daughters were full, they fell asleep under a tree. Karamdan left his daughters there to sleep and ran away. He thought that at least his daughters would be alive and would be safe from the cruelty of their stepmother. On the way, he hunted a deer and gave its blood to his wife. His wife applied the blood on her hands and feet and happily said, "Now I am at peace." He was convinced that Karamdan had killed his daughters. On the other hand, when the 3 sisters awoke, they saw that their father had left them. They began to call out to their father. Hearing the sounds of wild animals in the forest, they became frightened and began to cry. Coincidentally, 3 friends had come to hunt in the same jungle. When they returned after hunting, one of them, whose name was Nasir, said, "I think," Nasir said, "is someone in trouble here? Can't you hear someone crying?" "I can hear someone crying. Let's go and see. Maybe someone needs our help." Then the 3 friends moved in the direction of the voice. They went ahead and saw 3 beautiful girls sitting and crying. Nasir went ahead and asked them, "What are you doing here alone? And why are you crying so much?" Zainab told Nasir her entire story. The boys felt pity for her. They said to each other, "Why don't we marry these girls? They will get a roof over their heads and our lives will be peaceful." The 3 boys married the 3 girls. Zainab married Nasir. Coincidentally, the 3 friends had their homes nearby. The 3 sisters happily started living in their homes. A year later, Zainab gave birth to a son. Seeing this, Nasir's friends and Zainab's sisters were very happy. Gradually, Zainab's son turned 2 years old. One day, Nasir said to his friends, "I feel like hunting in the jungle again today. Let's go hunting." But his friends refused and said, "We have to go for some important work. We can't go to the jungle with you." Nasir took permission from Zainab and went alone to hunt in the jungle. But many days passed and Nasir did not return home. Zainab was very worried. Her sisters were also worried about her. Zainab's brother-in-law, Nasir's friend, consoled her and said, "Don't worry. We will find Nasir and bring him back." But the worst part was that Nasir's friends also went to the jungle to look for him. But they also did not return. Once again, the 3 sisters were overcome with grief. One day, Zainab was putting her son to sleep when she knocked on the door. She quickly opened the door and saw an old beggar, wearing green clothes, standing at the door. Zainab looked at him and said, "Baba, my husband is not at home. I cannot allow you to enter the house. When my husband comes, you can come." The beggar said, "Daughter, I am very hungry. What is the harm in feeding a hungry man?" Zainab forced the beggar into her home and started cooking for him. But the magician beggar stared at Zainab with evil eyes. Then the magician got up and came close to Zainab and said, "Listen girl, I like you very much. Leave your son and marry me." Zainab trembled with fear and said, "Baba, what are you saying? I am married and a mother of a child. How dare you say that?" Hearing this, the magician fakir got angry. He turned Zainab into a dog with his magic and started pulling her by the neck. Zainab's son was crying loudly. When Zainab's sisters heard her son crying, they came running to her house. She quickly hugged Zainab's son and started looking for her sister. But she couldn't find Zainab anywhere. After her stepmother, Zainab had also disappeared. Time went on like this. It had been 14 years since Zainab's disappearance. Meanwhile, Zainab's son had grown up. She was raised by her two aunts. One day, Zainab's aunts told her the truth about her mother. Hearing this, he became very worried and said, "Aunt, today I will definitely go and find my parents." His aunts explained to him, "Son, what had to happen, has happened. Those who had to go, have gone. Now we do not want to lose you. Our husbands had also gone to the jungle, and they too never returned. If you also go, then with whom will we live?" But the boy said, "Aunt, don't worry. I will find my father and the others and bring them back." Then the boy left for the jungle. He wandered in the jungle for many days. But he did not understand where to find his parents. In this way, while searching, he reached an area full of stones. There he saw the stone buildings and a beautiful small stone house. He was looking at the house carefully when an old man came out of the house and said, "Son, you look new here. Why did you come to this dangerous area?" The boy replied, "Babaji, I have come here to find my parents and uncle. A magician had taken my mother with him." The elders of Allah said, "Son, this area belongs to a great magician. He is very powerful. Whoever messes with him or insults him, he turns him into a stone. The stones that you see around you were once humans too. The magician turned them into stones. A few years ago, a young man came here. After that, 2 more young men followed him. The magician turned them into a tree and a stone. And he has imprisoned a pious girl for 12 years. The magician wants to marry the girl. But the girl doesn't listen to him." Hearing what the old man said, the boy began to think. "Surely, this girl is my mother. And these people belong to my family. Finally, I found my loved ones." After this, the boy told the old man his entire story and said, "Babaji, please help me. Please tell me a way to save these helpless people." The old man, whose hut was once burnt by Zainab's stepmother, smiled and said, "Son, God always helps those with a good heart. You should not lose hope." The elders of God were forced to live in this dangerous area. They promised the boy, "I will definitely support you." The elders began to think, who knows, by getting this boy's mother released, the other prisoners may also be freed from the magician's captivity. The old man told the rest of the villagers that he was his grandson who had come to meet him from another village. When the magician suspected that a new boy had come to the village, he immediately went to the old man of Allah and asked, "Who is he?" The old man replied, "He is my grandson." This is how the magician and the boy met. The boy hid his identity and started meeting the magician. The magician looked at the boy and said, "You look very intelligent, and you are as good and innocent as your grandfather. Tomorrow you will do me a favor. I will send you to a building where a girl has to give me a message. I want to marry her." The boy understood that he was going to meet his mother. He was very happy and started thinking that he would take flowers for his mother. He made a plan that when the time came, he would show his identity to recognize his mother. At the time of Zainab's marriage, Nasir had given her a ring with her name on it. Later, Zainab put the ring on her son. Years later, the ring was made again and the boy was still wearing the same ring. The Almighty said to the boy, "Hide your ring in the bouquet of flowers. When your mother sees it, she will recognize you immediately." But this will not be easy. The magician has appointed a watchman to keep an eye on Zainab, who keeps a strict eye on her all the time. The magician respected the Almighty very much and considered his grandson to be pious. He gave the boy the bouquet and started sending it to Zainab every day. At a young age of just 14, the magician had no doubt in him. Zainab was locked up in a room where no man was allowed to enter. The boy would go to Zainab every day with a bouquet of flowers. One of the magician's maids would always stay with Zainab. One day, fate helped the boy. There was a moment when there was no one in the room except for Zainab. The boy quickly took off his ring from his finger and hid it in the bouquet of flowers and placed it at Zainab's feet. As soon as he placed the bouquet on the ground, the sound of the ring was heard. Zainab picked up the bouquet in amazement and recognized the ring tied in the flowers. It was the same ring that she had given to her son years ago. Zainab's eyes immediately turned towards the boy who brought her the bouquet. As soon as their eyes met, the truth became clear. The magician had imprisoned Zainab, but her son began to plan to free his mother. Zainab told the sorcerer about the marriage and found out the secret of his power. The sorcerer told him that his life is in a parrot, which is locked in a cage, and is kept under a dense forest tree under strict surveillance. Zainab told this secret to her son, but forbade him from going to save him from danger. Still, the son convinced his mother that he would return victorious. After many days of hard work, he reached the jungle. He saw an opportunity and took the parrot out of the cage and brought it back to the magician's building. The magician saw him and begged for the parrot's return. The boy cleverly freed all the prisoners from the magician. After that, he pulled the parrot's wings, which destroyed the magician's power. In the end, he twisted the parrot's neck, killing the magician. The boy freed his mother Zainab, father Nasir, and all the other prisoners. Then they all went to the elder of God. Everyone thanked the elder and returned home. Zainab's sisters were very happy to meet her husband, who had been imprisoned by the sorcerer for years. Their father, who was saddened by the loss of his daughters, started crying with joy when he saw them safe and sound. He apologized to his daughters and told them that this happened because of his wife's conspiracy. The daughters consoled their father and said, "We are happy with our lives." Their father told them that their stepmother, who was cruel to them, died of a bad disease and left this world. After that, everyone started living their lives happily and peacefully.